Spoiler alert, I'm still sick, so I still sound funny, and no, taking days off from talking about cartoons will not make me get any better any faster. In the very last scene of the Amazing Digital Circus pilot, we get this haunting moment where Pomni stares out at us, almost through the camera, as a creepy tune plays with imagery that probably felt really familiar to a lot of people. As that shot zooms out, we get a moment of the characters all eating together that looks a lot like the famous painting of the Last Supper of Jesus Christ, with Pomni's jester outfit having a clashing red and blue color scheme similar to what Jesus is wearing in that painting as well. Does this make Pomni the ultimate savior of the digital circus? Let's break it down, but real quick, we're doing a special giveaway for one lucky viewer to get a free demonic cartoon detective t-shirt to help promote Hailey's foodie Instagram. She posts a lot of cool food finds there, especially cool cartoon-related ones. All you have to do is be subscribed to the channel and follow her Instagram account for a chance to win. Just use the Gleam link in the pinned comment down below to verify that you follow the accounts, and you'll automatically be entered for the opportunity to win. The winner must be from within the continental US for shipping and handling reasons. Now, some people really hate the idea of Pomni as a Jesus figure, but the Amazing Digital Circus has some very clear mythic inspirations, though of course their use of Jesus isn't what we'd call traditional. The Amazing Digital Circus is about 6 humans who have lost their memories and seem to be trapped in a video game run by an artificial intelligence named Cain. These humans want out of the game, but there appears to be no way to escape, so they are stuck doing whatever Cain wants them to do. Cain ultimately appears to be an artificial intelligence that actually builds out the game, with there being tons of free space for him to use. He sees it as his mission to take care of all the humans that come into the game, but only through the lens of the game's programming, which means he only knows how to keep them entertained and to let them have a little rest as opposed to help them escape. He is kind and polite, but he doesn't understand what humans really need, which at the end of the day is to leave the video game. Cain thus seems to have a bit of a controlling complex, wanting to control the humans, but with the idea that this is what is ultimately best for them, as straying away from his games tends to lead to the circus members becoming abstracted if they lose their sanity. Now, on the surface, the story of the Amazing Digital Circus doesn't seem to match the story of Jesus Christ as it appears in the Bible, but instead the elaborations about the nature of the Christ figure in Gnostic texts. Gnosticism was a movement in early Christianity that had a focus on gnosis, the idea of attaining enlightenment through sacred, often very secret forms of knowledge. This was done through expanding the mind with stories that elaborate on the nature of humans and spirituality. These texts would often conflict with each other, but with there being notes within the story that the stories were not meant to be taken canon the way that the Bible stories were, and instead were meant to be metaphors for the divine realm that humans can more easily understand. In these stories, Jesus is presented not as the son of the Old Testament God, but the son of the highest of all gods above him, a sleeping divinity made of pure love. The God of the Old Testament is instead presented as a demiurge, a god who created the physical universe and thinks he is the god of all things because of that, but does not realize there are greater divine beings in the worlds above him. This demiurge captures the light of those higher beings inside of humans, creating beings that have free will and thus someone to actually interact with. The demiurge tries to guide the humans he created, but doesn't realize that they have greater divine needs, as they come from beings that are above him. The demiurge ultimately becomes portrayed as an ignorant evil deity who has captured his own creator in shattered vessels. Jesus thus is sent from the highest of all dimensions and has come to rescue the humans. That would make the Cain in the show a very obvious parallel to the demiurge, with the names Cain and Abel of the Bible being reused in Gnostic texts as demiurgic underlings, such as in the Apocryphon of John, recontextualizing the Cain and Abel of the Bible as children of the demiurge. This would explain the C and A logo Pomni finds that appears to be the company that created the Digital Circus game, with the in-game character Cain being named after the Cain in the company's name. Likely, this is a team of 2 brothers, like the Cain and Abel of the Bible, that created the Digital Circus game, with Abel being represented by Bubble in the game, an AI like Cain, but one who is subservient to him like a younger brother might be. Kane is pretty nice in the pilot itself, but in previews we saw him being very careless with characters like Pomni and throwing knives at her as part of his show, putting the humans in stressful situations even if it isn't actually dangerous. This painted Kane as someone who might become more unhinged, something we see little hints of in the pilot, and I think as time goes on we'll see more of Kane doing what he wants to do for his own enjoyment of making the perfect game for himself, instead of focusing on what is actually happy and healthy for the human characters. This of course makes Pomni the Jesus figure, someone sent in to rescue the other humans. This could just be symbolic, and the intent of Pomni within the show may not have been to rescue the others originally. Pomni and the others may have all just happened to play the game and gotten sucked into it, with her just being symbolically Jesus because she will eventually help everyone escape in some way, or at least try to. But I do like the small idea of her actually having done it on purpose. The real-life Pomni may have been playing the game from the outside when she noticed the glitch of characters being kept alive and eventually corrupting when no one was playing as them. The real-life Pomni may have been able to figure out the issue, but realized that the only way to fix it would be to go inside of the game, and thus she would recreate the glitch with her own brain, knowing that even without her memories, the digital Pomni would also be smart enough to save everyone else by finding the same way to fix it that the real-life Pomni noticed. This would be a really cool revelation, but like I said, the Jesus bit may be more symbolic, having strong implications for the future of the show and Pomni's destiny, but not being something that copies the Gnostic text precisely. Now, in Gnosticism, Jesus is on a bit of a journey back and forth between the highest heavens and the lowest depths of hell, rescuing the spirits trapped there along the way, and restoring everyone to their rightful place as he ascends back to his, with humans being restored to their higher divine form, symbolizing wisdom. That would mean Pomni is sent to restore the people back to their bodies, though it's hard to say if they even have bodies to return to in the show, or if they are just isolated versions or copies of someone else's consciousness, that person not being more or less complete without them. This would mean that the real rescue mission is essentially death, with Pomni being sent to destroy the other circus members, even if it's for their benefit. An important element shared by the Christ figure in both the Bible and the Gnostic texts is the role of Judas. Judas is famous for selling out Jesus, betraying him so that he is crucified. This is something Jesus foresaw, claiming that one of his disciples would betray him at the Last Supper. In the Gnostic Gospel of Judas, we get another side of this story, where Judas reveals that Jesus showed him this future where he would betray Jesus. This vision required Judas to kill Jesus for an ultimate good, one that would cut himself off from certain divine privileges, but that Judas had to do in order for Jesus to be removed from the physical body that clothed him, which in turn would let him set off the apocalypse in the book of Revelation, those seals being opened by the sacrificed lamb. The big question is, who would be the Judas in the digital circus? Comparing this scene with the Last Supper portrait, Gangle seems to be the one closest to Judas in terms of position and posture, though Gangle seems like a very unlikely candidate to have a betrayal of sorts that leads to a dramatic death for Pomni. Instead, Jack seems like the most obvious candidate because he's naturally the most Judas-like in the show, someone who pushes you over just for his own entertainment. There is one moment where he slams his fist and kind of looks like Judas just sitting on the opposite side of the table, but the more dramatic option would of course be Ragatha. Ragatha and Pomni are already beginning to develop trust issues, with Ragatha doing her best to be calm and polite and helpful, and Pomni seeming to ditch her the first chance she got after claiming she wouldn't. It's a complex and tough situation they are in, but when push comes to shove, I think Ragatha may also just not end up being there for Pomni, remembering the time that Pomni left her behind, and perhaps that will lead to a choice that leads to a symbolic death for Pomni. Now, I have a pretty wild theory on how that might pan out, but for more information on that, hit that subscribe button because I'll have another theory coming out about that in the weeks to come, and I'll see you guys there.